And welcome to week number 6 of the Pigskin Picks. This week we bring in one of our own, Pat Garyantes from Delaware Live Sports. And Pat, you know the guy to beat, man. He's out there on Twitter just daring people to come after him. Marty Sheehan from the Delaware Football Pod. And but you got some tough games to pick here, so let's go ahead and get started because I know everybody wants to check out the Commanders tonight. So we're going to start with Saturday, 10:30 a.m., St. George's and Hodgson. Guys, two of the best one-loss teams you're going to see. 4 of Hodgson's losses have been the top-ranked team. Same thing for the Hawks. But St. George's has hung around in games like Salesianum and Apo. I think St. George's wins a close one here. Pat?
Yeah, this is a good toss-up, man. Right? This is a good toss-up game. It really could go either way. You're right. St. George's has hung in there with a couple of tough opponents. Hodgson has had some struggles for sure. But I think that Hodgson is going to find a way here. 10:30 a.m. start. I think that they're going to find a way to get it done. So I'm going to go different. I got to break the mold here, Benny, if I want to win. So I'm going to go.
And that's a big Votech rivalry up there too.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Trey Mitchell, give us some of your upstate knowledge.
So I think it's going to be a great game. Both teams have up and down seasons. They've had some big wins, they've had some big losses. But I think the point you made about St. George's and some of their losses, they were in those games to good programs. So that makes me lean towards St. George's. I think St. George's gets it done.
All right, let's move to another Saturday game. This one's 11:30 kickoff. Archmere Tower Hill. The Hawks have stumbled and fumbled for a couple of weeks, but they got it back on track last week when knocking off St. Mark's. Archmere wins this one.
You going to me? Yeah, I agree, Benny. I mean, Chris Albero seems to have found himself. He talked about it on the show with us on Wednesday evenings. If they can limit turnovers, they got a chance to win, the majority of their games. And I think that they've righted the ship. I think the Hawks get a win here as well.
Yeah, I think Archmere they've gotten back on track for that big win over St. Mark's. I got Archmere.
Moving down south, 7:30 kickoff in Delmar. It's Indian River coming to town. Indian River turned some heads when they upset Seaford. But then the following week, St. Elizabeth came into Dagsboro and left Kasim Benson footprints all over the field. He had a big game. Delmar has been up and down this year. Last week, they suffered a rare blowout. I mean, they lose, but they don't very rarely do they get blown out. They get blown out to Cape last week. I think this week they roll back up. The Wildcats are going to pull even for the season. Delmar wins here.
Yeah, I agree. I say it year in and year out. Delmar is a team that starts off slow and they finish strong under Coach Hearn. I think this season's going to be no different. So I'm with you on this one. I take the Wildcats.
Yeah, Indian River, they're coming off a loss to St. Elizabeth's after winning 2 straight, one of those being that big Seaford win. Delmar's coming off, like you said, that big loss to Cape. I see Delmar turning around here and getting the win at home.
Saturday, 11:30, Red Lion versus Lake Forest. This is Lake Forest's homecoming and their Hall of Fame day. This is the one-day game they play all year. Hey, Red Lion's on a roll. And what's scary is they're young. I think they're a team of the future. Lake Forest has won 12 straight homecoming games, 12 in a row at home on Saturday. Streak continues. Lake Forest wins.
Yeah, this is a good one, Benny. Right? It's Lake Forest who has been great for the most part this season. For one, Red Lion seems to be a team on the rise, but I don't think they're quite ready for it yet. Right? I still think they got a little bit of young. Chase Buttinger, he's incredible. Or Evan Buttinger, he's incredible quarterback, the freshman. But Tyndall's been getting the job done too for the Spartans. So I'm going to take Lake in this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we know Lake Forest is going to score. They're averaging 5 touchdowns a game. Even in their one loss to Sussex Tech, they scored 30.
Yep.
Like you said, Red Lion, they have losses to St. Mark's and Caraval, which are 2 legit programs. But they're only putting up 7 points between those 2 games. So it's going to be, 5 scores to 1 score. Not a great ratio there. But I think they're a good team. I think that, like you said, they're young, but they're talented. But I think it's going to be not enough to beat Lake Forest on their homecoming. So I'm going to go Lake Forest.
All right, here we go. It's going to get a little tougher here. We're going to go Friday night, 7 o'clock. Salesianum at number 1, Middletown. A rivalry that dates back into the 60s. The The defending champs are winning, but the offense seems to be still coming along slow, as I think than many expected. The Cavaliers have prepared themselves for this run, for this second half of the season. Their 2 losses are out-of-state road games against top 50 teams in the country, nationally ranked teams. Salesianum also has an offense that was slow coming out of the gate, but it's been anchored with a pretty solid defense.
Yeah.
300-game winner Bill Donardo returns to Cavalier Stadium, where he won a chunk of that 300. He's done it many times there. This could be a low-scoring game whose defense blinks. I think Middletown remains perfect in state here.
Yeah, Benny, you're right. I mean, both defense seems to be the story of the year so far this season. Yeah, Middletown's defense, those guys can really go, no doubt about it. I think this could be a week where maybe that offense starts to get things figured out. They're starting to get to that midpoint of the season. A couple new faces in there. I don't think Salesianum's got enough firepower. That's literally what this comes down to. So I think Middletown gets a win.
Yeah, Salesianum, that offense is starting to click. We got to watch them a few weeks ago, and that quarterback, he's getting comfortable throwing that ball around. But I think Middletown's defense is what's going to get the job done. They're pretty legit, so let's go Middletown.
Saturday at noon, here's a game we'll be covering downstate. It's number 3 Odessa versus number 1 Laurel. It's the Laurel homecoming. The last time the Ducks went to Laurel, the Dogs were not very friendly in the dog pound, winning 49-0 last year's playoff game. Kylese Wilson, he scored 3 times in that game. He's back and stronger than last year. Yeah. Odessa got their first signature win against Indian River, a shutout in their program's young history. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Laurel's they're tough here. They're going to roll and win this one.
Yeah, Laurel's in a class of their own down there. They proved that last year. They knocked off their true competitor in St. E's in the state championship game. I feel like they may even be stronger this year. Odessa, much like Redline, team on the rise. They're going to be a program to keep an eye on the next few years. I just don't think they're quite there yet to compete with the big dogs. I'll go with Laurel in this one.
Yeah, Laurel's outscored their opponents 230-13 this season. And their defense has 3 shutouts. That's not a team I'd want to play when it's on their homecoming. So I'm going to go Laurel.
7 o'clock Friday night, Mergenthaler Votech out of Baltimore against number 2 Smyrna. The Mustangs are ranked number 4 in Baltimore City. They jumped out to a 3-0 start with blowout wins before falling to number 2 Domar and number 1 Baltimore Poly. You guys probably don't remember back in the day, Baltimore Poly and Sally's used to have a little something going on in the 80s and the 90s. Now Mergenthaler travels to the comfy confines, but not friendly, Smyrna Stadium. And they're going to come in that stadium. They're going to see that sea of red. I like the Eagles defense to get the job done here. I think it's going to come down to just a couple stops. I think Mergenthaler is going to score because they can. I think Smyrna wins here. But, Pat, you got a little bit more about this Mergenthaler team.
Yeah, and we got to give a shout out to one of your guest pickers earlier in the year, Twitter, Phil, who of course is a big time fan of Smyrna. He gave some more information on this Mergo Tech team. Maryland State champions last year, and they have a way with adversity. Last season, they had a young man, a teammate, unfortunately pass away due to an injury that was on the field. Ended up coming back, winning the state championship that year. This year, unfortunately, they had another teammate who was unfortunately murdered at school. Like this stuff's just getting a little too common. However, they've come away with against adversity in the past. This could be a situation where you're facing a team of destiny, so to speak. They're playing for something a little bit more. I think they come on the road. Smyrna's figuring some things out. I really like the projection of this team right now, where they're going. I do think this Mergenthaler team comes in and gets a win on the road.
Right.
Yeah, Mergenthaler, they're averaging 32 points per game. They were unbeaten until they lost a close one to Baltimore Poly. And Smyrna's going to be a test for them. In the last 3 weeks, Smyrna has outscored opponents 108-6, and we know that defense is tough. I'm going to take Smyrna at home, I think.
And another thing about that Baltimore Poly, that was a 14-6 game last week against the number 1 team in Baltimore City League. That could be some tough football. So let's go to the game of the week, Friday night down here in Georgetown. What a game for week 6. I mean, this is, if you think of a roller coaster, we're on our way down to the end of the season, headed for the playoffs, full speed ahead. The Senators 5-game winning streak. Pat, this is a team you've got to see quite a bit of this year.
Yep.
The Knights, they had a big bounce back win after the loss to Smyrna. They beat Milford 49-6 last week, and they made it look easy. Guys, this is Apollo Creed versus Rock. The speed, the agility, the ability to strike quick, like lightning. Dover, the ground and pound, smash mouth, stingy defense of Sussex Central. The game is on grass. Okay. So I'm sure the Knights are going to hope that slows the Senators coming out of the blocks, and that way, they don't get downfield as quick. I'm sure Dover's going to want to stretch the field against them. Look, I'm sure that I'm a Central alum. I got to admit, I'm a Central alum, guys. Okay. It's homecoming. I'm going to have friends sitting right in front of me in the press box. So if I'm wrong, they're going to stand up and turn around and tell me. Just right outside my window. And the game's at the Castle. And you know what that means? This week it means nothing. I think Dover to win this game. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be another Dover Sussex Central Classic.
Unbelievable, man. I'll tell you what, I was on the edge of my seat here trying to figure out where you were going with this one, man. Wow. They may not let you back around those.
I'm going to wear the nose, glasses, and mustache in.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we got to see Dover 3 times so far this year, right? They got a 3-headed monster with Cosme, Kilby, and Parker. All 3 of those guys to get after. And they also got a couple younger guys, too, that are contributing as well. Coach Knapp obviously has these guys playing more disciplined than ever. The Senators have really figured some things out. And defensively, they seem to have picked it up a little bit, too. Central, I love Central, right, with Coach Wells. I ran them all the way to a state championship in 2018, kept picking them over and over and over again. Love the wing tee. Do love the grittiness of their defense. This is going to be a close one, but I'm going to have to go with Dover as well.
Greg, you have been riding the Dover train all year. I mean, the last 4 weeks you picked them, they've won. You're lucky you don't have to be there Friday night. You're going to be Caesar Riding's homecoming.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and make that pick.
So you mentioned Dover's 3-headed monster in Kilby, Park, and Cosme, and Central has one of their own on offense with Fields and Steen. Gosh, man, these are two teams I ride a lot. So yeah, Dave made a good point. I think Central's defense is going to be stingy and slow it down. And my rule is you don't pick against Central in the Castle, but I'm not going to be there, and you got to deal with it. So I'm going to go Dover.
All right, so go straight across Dover. I think
it's going to be a great game, and I got respect for both teams. But I've really liked Dover's speed on both sides of the ball, and I think that's going to be the difference maker. I think
you had to call in the COVID semifinal game, which I think it was won with 13 seconds left on the touchdown pass up in Dover.
That was insane. That was an insane, yeah, with the Barneses, and that was a wild game. That kind of got me going with how things get down in the middle and the Central and down south, man. There's definitely some big time rivalries there.
Well, I talked to both coaches over the past 2 weeks, and John Wells says Dover's athletic. They have a lot of great athletes and a lot of speed, and we've seen that. Trey and I saw it against Cape. You've seen it 3 times. The speed, just the overall speed of that defense. Man, they can close on a pass. They can, if you open a hole, they can close it quick. And then Sussex Central with just that ground. I mean, they got 2 fullbacks that will run you over, in that game. And I talked to Chip Knapp. He says, you just don't see the wing team much, and how do you rep it? Because he said he used to run camps with Sussex at Wesley. And when Sussex Central would come in, he says, they're like machines. He says, each kid blocks the same. Everything's like a machine. And both coaches think, man, this is going to be a game to watch, and I think they're right. It's going to be a knockdown slugger, like it always is. Dover Central's always a game.
For sure. Yeah, it'll come down to can Dover stay disciplined against the misdirection that they're going to be seeing. There's going to be guys running all over the place. You're not going to really know where the ball's going to go unless you read your key. So that's going to be. I think that's going to be the key. Will they be able to stay disciplined on defense? We'll find out.
Trey, homecoming week at Caesar Rodney, where you work, and how about that unified team? Let's give a shout out to them. Undefeated, and they have already beaten Dover, I think, and Smyrna, who have been 2 of the tougher teams. They've kind of got things going on up there, Trey. And they had a big homecoming game this week where they put 69 on the board.
Yeah, they put. I think they won 69-16 against Cape last night.
Holy smokes.
I get to work and teach a lot of those students. They're great kids. You know, they're happy to go out there and play football, and they love being a part of it. And I got one that brings me coffee every morning, and he's always excited to tell me about the win and tell me how he did. Another one had 2 touchdowns last night. He was very tired this morning.
Right.
Yeah, they're rocking in there, man. I talked to one of their coaches. They got some really good buddies that are very athletic, helping them, and they're just having fun and they're scoring points.
We might get to see them championship week if they make it. If this keeps rolling, we might see the Riders in the Unified game. And what I like most about what they're doing with Unified is you're watching these teams. They're no longer wearing 20-year-old football jerseys. They've gone out and they've gotten these kids their own uniforms, and making them feel special, which they should do because they are legit competing for a legit high school state championship.
That's always a blast. Those unified championship games, man. And they always seem to be ultra competitive. Like it's like they pit the 2 best teams against each other, and somehow it shakes itself out that way. Right. Yeah, man. Good luck to the Riders rest of the way.
All right, guys. I see Pat. You got the Phillies over your corner there.
I do, man.
We'll showing your upstate bias. Yeah.
Look, when we airing this, Benny? When are we airing this?
Friday morning.
Well, then guess what? Later today, I will be at the game. So
there you go. That's right. You got tickets to the playoff game.
Got lucky, awesome. Man. That's the benefit of having a family member working for the team.
Right, there you go. Down south, we're more Washington fans. So, guys, enjoy the weekend. Kickoff. Pat, you guys, right? You won't be there. Nick's going to fill in on the call this week. So, guys, thanks a lot. See if you can catch Marty. I'm sure he's got his rock
Marty,
ready to go for you.
Viking on Viking crime. I'm coming for you.
All right, folks. See you at kickoff.